So last week, no, not last week, on Monday and on Wednesday, we were introduced to Jupyter Notebook. We were introduced to what variable is and how to use them. Then last week we looked intensively into the various data types, and we looked at various examples also. Then also on Wednesday we looked at various operators and um, how to use them and where each operators are significant. So today we'll be considering the last topic for today for this week, and it's a very just simple and straightforward one. So we may not necessarily be creating another section, as we were able to meet up with this week's syllabus. So we'll be looking at comment and casting in Python. So I'll be sharing my screen right away. So I'll be going into my Jupyter Notebook. Then just as usual, I open my desktop. I'll open my desktop. Then I'll go into my data science folder. Data science folder. So this week we are starting today we are looking at comment and casting. So let me create a new file, new Python 3 file, and then let me rename it as my system is still booting up. Okay, so let me rename it as comments and casting. So I know we are familiar with comments. We must have seen me use it in many instances, most especially last week. Now, what's the significance of comments? Apart from the markdown I explained last week, comment helps to explain what you are doing. It's when you use comment on a particular line of code, that line is not being executed, it's not being read. No, when Python is an interpreter. Now, when we run our code, it interprets those lines. Now, any line that we make a comment is not always being interpreted by the interpreter. So, and we need comment so that when a layman sees our code, he's not confused. When we send our code to someone that doesn't even know anything about Python, the person won't find it difficult to understand. So that's the significance of comment. And comment is being made using the pound sign. We are used to it as the hash symbol, but it is being called the pound sign as a programming tag. So when I want to make comments, all I just need to do is start whatever I want to write with that sign. So let's take, for example, let's say today we are looking at comments and casting. So anybody that sees this code now knows that, oh, this is comment and casting. So comment is different from markdown. By the end of this class, I'll be sending the exercise, the assignment for this week, to the WhatsApp platform, and I will endeavor us to do it very well. So part of the assignment will be some of the things I introduce us to on Markdown. So comment is different from Markdown. Let me just go back a little bit. Take, for example, as you may want to convert this to a Markdown now. Markdown is different. All I just need to do is I need to understand the syntax of a Markdown. This is part of the syntax of a Markdown. When I use two pound sign and I space it in Markdown, that actually means H2. For those that are familiar with HTML, it means bigger size. So now I'll just go to the account and convert this cell to a markdown. Then when I press Shift Enter, it changes it to a markdown. So that cell has actually become a markdown. So comment is different from markdown. So let me change this cell type back to code. So comment is different from markdown. Comment is actually it exists in the code cell itself. So you can use it to explain, because it's not everything you can convert to a markdown. Take for example, assuming we are not working on Jupyter Notebook, assuming we are working on an IDE like maybe Python IDE shell, or we are using PyCharm, or we are using VS Code. There is no way those editor can convert can actually understand markdowns. So in those instances, we have to make use of comments so that we can explain what we are doing. So just like this comment now, I can go and say okay, we use. I'm still making comments concerning what we are doing today. We use pound sign comments. So when I run this line, this code now, and I run this cell now, nothing it's been printed. If I please Shift Enter to run it, nothing is being done because there's actually no code. So what the compile interpreter does is anytime it sees any line that starts with the pound sign, as of than just carry his eyes and just move on. Does not execute anything. So we can go further and begin to do other things. We can decide to maybe run other codes, like I say A equals 45, and I say B equals 56. Then I say print B. Then I enter. It actually ran the other code, but for that particular comment, it overlooks it. So the comment is actually meant for code readability, like for us to be able to explain what we are doing. So now there's another way. There's what we call multi-line comment. Multi-line comment is, as you can see, I started there that okay, today we are looking at comment and casting. And the second line, I did some further explanation. I had to use pound sign again. What if I want to still explain so many other things? Will I keep using a pound sign every now and then? Now they have come up with what we call multi-line comment. So when you are doing multi-line comment, that means your comment is more than just a line. So let's take for example now, here now I want to add a multi-line comment. So this is how we add a multi-line comment. It's actually 3 quotations. So 1, 2, 3. So as you can see now, I did 1, 2, 3, and it automatically put in the last one. So everything I put here now will not be read. Everything I put in now. So even if I enter the other line and keep typing, it will still be seen as comment. So this is actually multi-line comment, but the multi-line comment work much more better on maybe when we're using editors like the likes of PyCharm and the likes. So if I run this now, okay, it actually give me an error. And the reason why it's giving me an error is because I'm using Jupyter Notebook. But this is actually recognized as another way of writing comments. So it actually printed this out because I'm dealing with, I'm using Jupyter Notebook. So the two methods, this and this, they are the two ways of commenting in programming and in Python. And we don't just comment anyhow. We put comments where we know people need explanation. I can't just come here and say, okay, A stands for 45. It doesn't make any sense. So we don't abuse the use of comments, but we use them where they are necessary. So that's just comment. So let's briefly move on to casting. Now, casting is you want to cast something, like you want to change it from a form to another form. That is what casting is in programming. So casting is a general word used in programming. If you go to other programming languages, they also make use of casting. Now, casting is when you want to convert a data type to another data type. when you want to convert a data type to another data type. Take for example, I have A to be 45, I have B to be 56. What if I want A to now be changed to maybe 45.0? I want it to take the form of a float. All I just need to do is just do float 45. So it will cast, that's the term, it will cast whatsoever it's inside this parenthesis into the float data type. So now if I print A now, shift enter, as you can see, it has converted A. A was initially, or maybe let me do it here. Let me say G equals 45, and A is equal to the float of G. Yeah, it makes sense this way. So G initially has the value of 45. So I cast now. Let me use the word cast now. I cast, grammatically there's nothing I casted. So I cast G to be a float. Likewise, also, if we have something to be maybe a float, we can cast it also to become an integer. Let's assume 56.8, and I decide to cast B. So let me just put, okay, I decide to cast B. Let me say C equals int. So if you want to convert anything to an integer format, use int. Then I want to cast B to become an integer. Then let me print C also. Shift enter. So as you can see, that's cut away the other aspect, the float, the decimal aspect has been washed away. It converted it into an integer. So there may be instances where we need to apply this. Take for example, we create a short application that we ask people to enter their age, and one stubborn person has missed them, or let's say maybe the person is not stubborn, or the person is just want to sound stubborn, decide to enter 56.9. For God's sake, nobody can 56.9. So we want to build our system to accommodate such an error. So we can decide to, at the point of entrance, cast such input. So let's try and implement the scenario I just created. So let me do that in another cell. So let me say age. Then I say age equals to input. So input is a reserved word that helps you collect value from outside, from like user. So let's say input, then what I want is okay, enter your age. So enter your age. Then what I want to do is print age. Now, if I decide to write a program like this and I press shift enter, now we can see the output, right? So it's expecting me to enter my age. And as a stubborn person, like we said, I now entered 67.9 and I press enter. It's printed out 67.9. And imagine maybe I want to use this particular data to do some other processing. Maybe I've written some models that only work with an integer. This will cause a problem. So what I can do is I can decide to cast whatever the person is entering. So I can decide to, okay, at this point, let me just create a new variable and say new age, or let me just say processed age, just to make it. So another thing we should learn when naming our variable is, let's put our end users into consideration, even ourselves into consideration. If we write 500 lines of code and we come back to it 5 months, definitely the code will be strange to us. So if we use some strange or weird variable names, when we come back, even ourselves will be confused. But I used process age now. So when I come back to this kind of code, I know, okay, process age is actually collecting a processed data. So we want to cast whatsoever the person is entering. So all I'll just do is, I just do int whatsoever the person enter, int age. Then I can now decide to now print processed age. Okay, so when I press shift enter now, come in. Okay, so when I press shift enter now I did still that stubborn person. I enter 50, okay, I'm not 50, 40 something, 40.8, and enter now. Oh, now I can see a bug. So let me see what this bug is telling me. Saying invalid literal for int with base 10, 40.8. Okay, what could be wrong? Okay, okay. Okay, let's try and debug this. Invalid literal for int is 10. Okay. Let me do this. Okay. Okay. 40.8. 40.9. Okay. Now, something actually happened. Let me verify again so that I can explain to us what happened. And okay, 40.9. Okay. So what happened is, now when we create something like what we just saw now, when we create something like that, and we are collecting value using that, should I call it, using that this particular bus now, whatsoever the person enter takes the form of a string, takes the data type of a string. I'll come again. When we create a platform like this, using this syntax of input, and we are expecting the person to enter something, whatsoever the person enters into this space takes the string data type. So we are the one that now needs to now convert it, cast it now to the data type we want to. Now, it's not possible to cast a string into an integer directly. So we need to first cast it into a float, that's to a decimal format. Then we now print it out. So to further prove what I'm saying, let me just kill this tunnel. So let me try and let's use what we learned last week. So let me print. I want to know the type that the person enters. So I will do type to further understand what is actually happening. So I want this program to just print out the type that that's coming in. So shift enter, then let me enter 56.7. So as we can see now, we can understand what I've said. Now I entered 56.7. Now to us, we've entered a float data type, but anything that passed through that input bus is being seen as a string. So as we can see now, I tried printing out the format that comes in is in the string form. And from what we can observe, we can see that we can't convert, that means we can't cast a string into an integer directly now. So we have to first cast it into a float, that's decimal value, then before we now cast it to integer now. So that means let's take note. I can actually cast maybe an integer. Let's say, for example, let me say size. Let me say size equals 67. Now I can convert, this is actually in this cell now, this size is actually an integer. I can convert it to a string. That is allowed. So I can say that means, let me say new size equals now to convert it to strings, str. I'll use str to convert it. So I'll convert size now. Then I will now print new size. So shift enter. So as we can see now, so it's converted it into a string. So I can decide to even print the type here now, so that we know if it has actually converted it into a string. So type of new size, shift enter. Okay, it's not complete. Shift enter. Okay, now so we can see. So it is possible to convert an integer to a float which we actually did here using float. And it's also possible also to convert a float or an integer to a string. As we can see here, I converted an integer into a string. So, but we can't convert a string into an integer, but we can actually convert a string into a float if those values are actually convertible, like they are made up of digits. So that's what casting is all about. Basically, you convert using you can convert maybe from float to integer, convert float to an integer, so it will truncate the decimal aspect. You can convert an integer also to float. That means it will add the decimal place dot zero. So there are applications that as we move on, begin to apply them, that will warrant us to actually cast our data. It's not only input data we need to cast. Maybe we collected data sets and there is no need. Okay, take for example, we find the average of maybe number of boys in a school, and we are running some data science library on it. And after running the average, we are getting 5.6, and we don't want to approximate. We can actually cast it. We can't have 5.6 boys. So we can actually cast it into an integer and to truncate the decimal aspect. But if our concerns, we also have to do with accuracy. We decide, okay, we want to approximate it, then we can also approximate it also. So that's just what casting is all about. And I've also explained comments. So those are the two major things we'll be doing today. I'll be sending the exercise for this week to the WhatsApp platform. I'll be sending the exercise to the platform. It may be a little bit stressful, but I want us to think and apply all that we've done and do the assignment. So that's all for today. That's all we'll be touching concerning comment and casting. So we've actually covered our syllabus for this week. So next week is another time to look into syllabus for next week. So I don't know if there's any question. Is there any question, sirs? Any questions? Does that mean we all understand? Okay, I should I be calling names? Okay, bro. Okay, any question?
No, sir.
Okay, sir. So I can send the assignment with our knowledge of how to use Jupyter Notebook, variables, data type, operators, and comments and casting. We can face the assignment I will send to the group. Okay, sir. Bro, is there any questions, sir? Okay, bro, Tommy, any question? Okay, so I think that will be the end of today's class. So it's actually short because we've covered what we need to cover for this week. So and it's a good one. So next week, Monday is another time to start another topic. So I think next week we'll be going into, let me check. Um, So, but if there's any question, please, we can signify, please. Okay, so that means we all understand. So, we'll call it a day for today. So, we'll meet on Monday as we'll be starting a new topic. I want to look at the topic we'll be starting next week. Okay, so we'll be going into strings, accepting input. Okay, we've even touched accepting input today, but we'll still touch it again. Then we'll be looking at conditional statements, loops next week. So I'll be sending the assignment before 10 p.m. to the platform. So let's try to submit the assignment before Sunday. Let's try to submit the assignment before Sunday. And I will actually prefer, okay, I will send the details concerning the assignment. So thank you so much. See us on the platform, and our next class on Monday also.